Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're holding by the Mishnah on Ayin Aleph. And we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. Most of our learning we should have the base of English. Immediately, learning the Nishmas of the Basra Daf and the sons of the Mitzvah. And also for Shlomo David Ben Sarah and Gedalia gets a little gets been taken to prayer. Whoever else needs it for Shlomo. We're talking about someone that sold the field. That was the last Mishnah. Sold the field, and certain things weren't sold with it. He sold the rocks that are necessary, sold certain sticks. He doesn't sell large areas, and he doesn't sell this type of tree and that type of tree, right? The grafted carob tree and the sycamore tree. Now the Mishnah goes on. It says Leah Sabar doesn't sell the pit that's in the field. That's considered separate, and that he retains for himself because that wasn't part of the sale. Leah Sagas doesn't sell a press. If there's a wine press or an olive press, bad is usually a press, olive press. Gas may be like a vat. How do they translate there? Okay. Leah Sashevach doesn't sell the dovecote, the birdhouse, which is Bein Charev and Bein Yeshuvin. You found that in the Gemara. Whether it has birds in it or whether it doesn't have birds in it. Show that to me. Let me see. Where is this in the front? Look at it. Is there a name there? No, there's no name. Okay. So, the interesting thing here is we're back to the Machlekes Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan about Meicher Ba'ayin Yafa Meicher or Meicher Ba'ayin Ra Meicher. When a person makes a sale, is he selling generously or is he selling stingy? Is he selling everything? He wants the purchaser to be happy, so he's giving him everything. Or is he just selling the bare minimum? So Rabbi Akiva's opinion is that when a person sells, he sells everything. He wants the purchaser to be happy. So when he's selling the field, and he's retaining for himself the bar and the this and all of those things, so how's he going to get to his own items that were not part of the sale? He's going to have to buy a path. Why? Because in the sale itself, he was very generous. That's Rabbi Akiva's view. So he's going to have to purchase for himself his own path to get to those items that he didn't sell. Because in the sale, he was generous. Chachamim say no. When a person makes a sale, he's not so generous. The only reason why he's selling is because he needs the money, but he's not selling anything more than he has to sell. So he doesn't really, it's his concern over here is not that the purchaser should be happy. Therefore, when he sells the field, and he's not selling this tree and this pit and that pit and all of these things, so he's also retaining for himself a pathway to get to those items. That's the Chachamim's view. Ma'adir Rabbi Akiva, well, actually, the Bach adds in the words. The Chacham say that he doesn't need to purchase a path because he never sold the path, right? Because he doesn't sell generously. Rabbi Akiva admits that if the seller specifies, he says, I'm selling you the field, but I'm not selling you the sycamore tree. I'm not selling you the bar. I'm not selling. If he specifies that in the document, so then why is he specifying it? He's coming to show that he's also keeping a path for himself. Those extra words are coming to tell me the extra detail that he's not just keeping it by not selling it, he's also keeping it in the path, together with its path, when he adds in the words.
Also say, like, if you said that selling this house and like the shed or and something else, that means to also exclude it also.
We had a thought like that, yeah. That maybe he's excluding. Okay, now the Gemara switches it, the Mishnah switches it to the opposite case which we had before in the previous Mishnayos. But it says Machran Liacha. Let's say it's exactly the opposite. Instead of selling the field and keeping the trees and the pits and all that stuff for himself and the bird cage, let's say he's selling the bird cage, he's selling the trees, he's selling the pit, and he's keeping the field for himself. So did he sell a pathway? So now the opinions flip. If according to Rabbi Akiva, of course he sold the pathway. That's Rabbi Akiva, when he sold the field, but he didn't sell the pit, you have to now purchase a pathway because you sold everything, including the pathway. Now, when you're selling only the pit, so you're selling the pathway as well, because Rabbi Akiva holds Meicher Bayin Yafer Meicher. So the guy has a pathway already. Rabbi Akiva says he already has a path, because when a person sells, he sells generously. The Chacham say no, when a person sells, he sells stingy. And so therefore all he sold was just the pit, just the tree, just whatever it is, and not the path. The guy's gonna have to purchase his way in to get into. It's like the guy that's Stellinger told us, where he sold a nursing home, but not the parking lot. If you want to park it, you have to pay. So you have to lease it. So yeah, the Chachamim say he sold him the trees, he sold him to this, but he didn't sell him a path to get to it.
Seems like it's so necessary to have that path. It's like computer without the charger.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. But nevertheless, some sales work like that. So they sell you this thing, and then they tell you that you need to buy this other thing to make it work.
Easy example. You can buy the land, but oh yeah, land. You gotta pay thousands of dollars to bring. Yeah, right.
Is that why you get these things in the mail, like buy 50 acres or somewhere for 30,000? These things, because there's nothing.
And when it's so cheap, there's not even hopes of anything coming about in that area.
That's really just a camping ground. Okay.
Bought a piece of land and they said, it's a driveway. You have to pave the driveway to get into your land. That's a couple $1,000 because there's only one company that will do it.
Wow.
That's the same thing.
Wow. Where was the property?
Sebring.
Where's that? In Florida? Oh, so do you still have it?
Yeah. You want to buy the driveway? I never put the driveway in. I just go in.
Oh, is it like muddy or something?
Muddy? No, it's okay. But they have rules that if you're going to put a house there, eventually you have to have a driveway that's paved.
Oh.
Not a driveway, just the entrance between the swale, that amount. So they require it's like the charger. Buy the thing, but another $50 you can buy the charger for.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So you want a charger, you gotta pay.
Huh. They used to sell you the car without the seats. You'd have to get seat covers.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy the tires also. No, you have to buy a seat cover.
Was the Ferrari like?
Could be. Well, now they sell you phones without a case. And everyone knows you're going to get a case. Why don't they just put the case on? I guess they want you to choose. That's what they used to do with the car seat covers. You can choose.
Yeah, that might have been only in Rhode Island, Rabbi.
Okay.
Not here. Here they took your tires after you sold your car.
They went out of business. I know a guy who was in that business. He was going to give it to his son and his grandson. Then they stopped using seat covers because they buy it ready made.
Okay. Now it says Bamedvar Mamurim. when do we say, or everything that we said, that you don't sell, when you sell a field, you don't sell what's inside it, you don't sell the pit, you don't sell the trees, you don't sell. When do we say that all those restrictions, those limitations on the sale, that you didn't sell this, you didn't sell that? That's b'meicher. That's only if it's a sale. But when dealing with a gift, the rule is nice and eskula. Then you're selling everything. Now the Rashbam points out that it's not really everything. You don't sell everything. You sell everything that's part of the field. But there are certain things that the Mishnah didn't even need to tell us that are not part of the sale. For example, grain that was sitting there, or money that's in the wallet that's sitting there in the field or something that wasn't sold. That's not part of, that was never part of the, no one even imagined that should be part of the sale. It's only the things where the Mishnah needed to specify that it's not part of the sale. Turns out that if it's a gift, it is part of the gift. Achin shechalku, brothers that divide the inheritance. So zachu besada, zachu bekula. Over here, this opinion is of this Mishnah that they acquire everything. In other words, the reason why, even though by it is considered a sale, right? The brothers that it's considered a sale, but the reason why they're separating, why they're dividing it up, is because they don't want to have these attachments that you're still part of my field and you're part of my field. The whole reason why they're doing this is because they want to say, okay, this is my land and this is your land. So they don't want to have the guy that he still has his well inside his field. That's the reason why we're dividing this up. Okay, now the Rashbam points out, based on the Gemara before, that what about the path? Now, there's no path, of course, to the sycamore trees and those things, because those are already given. Those are, if Reuven takes this side of the field together with all the trees, and Shimon takes this side of the field together with all the trees and things and all that, so there's no trees that belong to the opposite person. They have this. So what's the path? Path is, let's say, the only way to get to Reuven's field is to walk through Shimon's field. So he's still going to need a path. So that depends on what we learned before, that there's a claim that the person can say, that Reuven can say, it says, I would like to live in the property the way my father lived in the property. My father was able to get to it. He didn't have to fly over, right? So therefore, I should have a path automatically. But when it comes to the sale of the trees and this and that, it's 100% division. This one owns the field and the trees, this one owns the field and the trees. It's 100% divided.
I want to live with my father, not if anybody goes to my property.
And that's the other guy can say. That's a good point. You know what Shalom's saying. But the outer guy can say, I want to live the way my father lived without people walking through my property. But he was the one that walked through the property that went to the inner one. So the guy on the inside is saying, 1 second, you're giving me a property that I can't really use. Right?
In the Gemara, is inheritance considered a gift?
Usually it's considered a sale.
It's treated as a sale.
I think the Gemara says, I think it says. Yeah.
So it's going to come back to the assumptions. If it's treated as a sale, it's going to come back to the discussion about whether one sells with a generous or stingy eye.
However, that would be the normal conclusion to that. However, the Gemara said that, I think, because they're dividing it, because they don't want to have the interactions that they're going to need if they're going to keep trees and pits and all of that. That's the whole reason why they're dividing it. So their intention was to divide it 100%. Yeah.
So what happens? Does he get the path?
So the path he keeps the path. Yeah, that's what the Gemara said before. But he doesn't have trees and all the other stuff. We're still in the middle of the Mishnah. We're holding by Hamachzik b'nichsei ager.
Before you go on, it's treated as a sale, but somebody can change his will at any time, right? It's treated as a sale. I mean, a gift, you can rescind the gift at any time before you give it, right?
Yeah.
But a sale, so I guess it's saying it's a sale when it occurs, when he dies and the
Yeah, so one
transfer
second,
occurs.
1 second. 1 second. There's two parts to this. When someone passes away and the children take over the inheritance,
Mhm.
that's not a sale. They're just taking over they're stepping into their father's position. Then when they divide it between themselves, that division is considered a purchase.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if someone acquires property, this is considered ownerless property because it belonged to a convert that passed away without any relatives. And so there's no family there to inherit. Someone is coming in and acquiring it. So he acquires everything in the field. Now, even though the trees in that field, those fancy trees, the sycamore trees and the carob trees, those are considered like a separate field. And we learned that when you acquire a field from a convert that passed away, for those ownerless fields, you have to make a kinyan in each section, in each field. You can't just acquire one and you can automatically acquire the other. So why over here are you acquiring the trees if you're only acquired in the field? How do you get the trees along with it? Rashbam spells this out. He says that it's not considered separate boundaries. It's considered two fields within the same boundary. Our concern was when with the Machzik B'nechsi Ager is that if you have fields that are divided by boundaries, if you acquire one, you don't acquire the other one. But over here, it's not divided by boundaries. It's all in the boundary. The only thing is, it's considered two fields within the same boundary that you acquire both of them when Machzik B'nechsi Ager. Okay, now the big sugya here is Hamakdish es Asade Hikdish es Kula. Let's say someone is Makdish it, he consecrates the field. So when it came to a sale, you don't sell those trees and you don't sell the pits and you don't sell and because we said that by a sale, sages held that a sale, a person is stingy. He doesn't sell everything, he doesn't sell it. It's not to buy in Yafa, he's buying Ra. Rabbi Akiva held that it was buying Yafa. But here, what about Makdish? So here we're saying that if someone consecrates something, he's being generous. That's what it appears. That's what it appears. It says Hikdish is Kula. It's as if he's giving the gift. By the gift, he was generous, right? Naisin by Yafa Naisin. So here by Makdish, he's also being generous.
All these cases, besides from Murcher, you say he's selling value. So he has, but by Murcher, Mamish wants to access what he bought. How's he supposed to? I love it was in Nigeria. He wants to get to the field, water field. Or what
But there is the other side. The other side of the story is that the seller said, "Look,
would have been more expensive.
I didn't want to sell it. The only reason why I sold it was because I needed the money. I'm not selling extra. I'm not giving you that. You wanted to buy that. I needed the money for this. That's as much as I needed. That's what I sold you. That's his side of the story." So yeah, basically the discussion is whose side of the story do we look at?
Nowadays it's switched, but sellers want to be generous because they're competing
Right.
get customers. As far as like consecrated thing, yeah, I'll give you like my oldest whatever.
Well, also I think today people don't want to mess up their whole business because of one sale. They get like, oh my gosh, you sell this, the big business going on, right? The view, what's refused. That's the thing. I'm gonna say we're gonna, get ruin the business because of one, Okay. Reb Shimon Aimer. Reb Shimon says, "Hamakdish es asada loy hikdish." Ella es a charuv es a sadna shikha. Charuv a sadna shikha. He's interesting. He says that when someone is makdish something, he's not makdish all those things that go along with the gift. The only exception to that are trees. Trees go along with it. You will see why. We'll see why in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to give us today. We'll see. We turn the page. We'll see why the trees are an exception. It's an interesting exception. Okay. The Gemara begins, Maishna Mecher, Maishna Matana. What's the difference between a sale and a gift? So, I mean, we understood that nice and buying yafa, nice and Meicher is not necessarily buying yafa and Meicher. I guess what we're asking is that, but nevertheless, the person is only giving what he says he's giving, and he's only selling what he says he's selling. Why should there be a difference between this and that if nothing was itemized? They're exactly the same.
If anything should be opposite by a gift. It's something extra. It's nice to him. He was I'm entitled to get
Good
to my
logic.
field.
It's a good logic.
Grateful for what I gave you. More or less.
Yeah. It's interesting the Gemara doesn't say that, but that is an interesting logic. That's what we would have thought. Rabbi Sasson is saying that there's a logic the opposite. You could say by a gift, you could say that how did you want to put it? That by a gift he's just giving.
Grateful for what you get. Like
Yeah, you
not-
should be
no
grateful with what you get.
expectations
How
of,
much, how much am I going to give you? Giving for free. I'm just going to
appreciate
give.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're selling, you're trying to access the field. It make more sense that I can buying a product that I can
Right.
access. Pay for it.
It's interesting because usually, let's say someone gives you like their old couch or something. They go buy because they're buying a new couch. They're never giving you the new couch. They're always giving you the old one. So that's the way you would view a gift. I got a gift. Me, it's a gift, but I'm not getting it. The Gemara doesn't view it like that. The Gemara says a gift. Give you the
You're
best.
not trying to get rid of furniture.
Yeah.
You're giving someone a real gift. You're giving one nice
Right.
polish.
So the Gemara explains over here, Pirish Yehuda ben Nekusa lefnei Rebbe. I didn't look if there's any comments over there, Yehuda ben Nekusa. And is there like a biography or something? Okay, whatever the case is, Yehuda ben Nekusa says in front of Rebbe the explanation for the difference between the sale and the gift. Zeh Pirish v'zelei Pirish. This one specified what he's giving, and this one did not specify what he's giving. So the Gemara says, "Hi, Zeh Pirish v'zelei Pirish." Is that really what's going on here? Zelei Pirish v'zelei Pirishu. They both didn't specify. That's not an answer. You're making up details here that never happened. Both of them are exactly the same. Ella, rather, rather, this one was supposed to specify and this one was not supposed to specify. So, what does that mean? This one was supposed to specify. The Shpam gives two interpretations. By the Noisin Matana, the one that was giving the gift, he should have specified, since he normally gives generously, he should have specified if he wasn't giving something. The fact that he didn't specify that means that he's giving it. However, because Meicher, Bayin Ra Meicher, so he doesn't have to specify. It's the reason why I sold it, right? The reason why I sold it was because I needed the money. I'm not selling anything extra. So therefore, it was obvious that I only sold you what I said I'm selling you, not anything else. That's the first shot of the Rashbam. Rabbeinu Chananel has another pshat. Rashbam quotes Rabbeinu Chananel. He says that when there's a difference between someone that's selling and someone that's buying and someone that's receiving a gift. Someone that's receiving a gift doesn't have the ability to say, "Are you giving me this? Are you giving me that?" Because he's embarrassed that he's receiving the gift. But someone that's buying something, he's able to say, "Is this part of the sale? Is this part of the sale?" I want to make sure, you start specifying, am I getting the charger together with the phone? Am I, what's coming along? You're able to, because you're paying money, you're able to ask. So he's saying that since he was able to ask if he's getting more and he didn't ask that means he should have specified he didn't, so he's going to get less. But since the recipient of a gift is not able to ask, am I getting more or not? So he didn't have that ability to ask that. So he gets more because it's then the seller should have been the one to say what he's getting. He's expecting more. He wasn't able to ask if this is part of it.
Along the same logic that I mentioned, but the buyer's perspective.
Right. Okay. Ahu, there was a person, Damalu, that he said to them, he's giving a present, he's giving a house to someone, and the house he's giving the house that contains 100 barrels. That's the way they would measure it. They would measure it by square feet. Over there they measure it by not square barrels, but 100 by 100 barrels, 100 barrels squared. So 100 round barrels squared. So they went to the house to check, and it turns out that this house had 120 barrels that could fit in the room. He only said 100. So Amar Marzutra says, well, this is a gift, right? Marzutra says, he said he's giving him only 100. He's not giving him 120. Maybe that's 120, right? Turned out it had more. So the Marzutra says, well, he didn't give him that extra. Ravashi says, no. Milay Tanan, was it not taught? Mishnah says that when are we so limiting when it comes to these transactions? That's only by a sale. Nice in matana, when it comes to a gift, nice in kulan, then he's giving everything. Alma mandiyav matana buying yafa. Just like when it comes to a property, that it comes together with the sycamore tree, it comes together with the pit, it comes together with the bird. If it's a gift, so too the extra 20 barrels, it's not barrels actually, extra 20 area of barrels, that is it's going to go along with the gift. So why do you say 100? If it's really 120. He made a mistake. He thought it was 100. He wanted to give him the whole house. He thought it was 100 by 100. He didn't get it exactly, the square footage. But that's what he wanted to give. Okay. This is the big sugya. Makdish asasada pikdish. If someone consecrates a field, so he consecrates everything, including all those things that wouldn't have been included in the sale, but they are included in this consecration. Everything becomes sanctified. Reb Shimon argued, and Reb Shimon said, no, we're still on 71a, on the bottom. Reb Shimon said that no, he's not makdish all those things. However, trees do go along. Now we have a comment from Rav Huna. Amar Rav Huna, Huna is the second generation Amira. Afagav Damar Rabbanan, even though the Rabbanan hold, there's a machlaikas Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva when it comes to a sale. If a person is Meicher bayin yafa, if he sells generously or if he sells stingy, even though the Rabbanan say if someone buys trees in his friend's property, do you acquire the land around the trees when you buy the trees? Because you need land around the trees to be able to work the area. So do you acquire that land? So we had a Mishnah, we've been quoting a Mishnah later on that says that there's a difference between 3 trees or 2 trees. If you buy 3 trees, then it's considered that you bought an orchard and therefore it comes along with the land. If you buy 2 trees, then those are just individual trees and you don't get the land along with it. That, I think it was 50 amas by 50 amas or something, but I don't think it means that you get all of that land. I think it just means that you get the area around the trees, which is something for the person with the basket and the worker to walk around or something. So you get the area around the trees. So if you're
How you cut down a tree? If you're cutting it down and going to the other best part.
Yeah, the guy would have to give you permission to come in and get your trees. It could be a fruit tree. It could be it's just a tree that is growing for wood, right? So, so the Rabbanan hold that it's 3 trees would be acquiring land. Rabbi Akiva held that even 2 trees, you acquire the land with it. So even though the Rabbanan said that if someone buys 2 trees, he doesn't acquire the land. However, machar karka v'shir shnei elanis lefonav. Let's say he did it the opposite. Let's say he sold the property and he keeps 2 trees. According to the Rabbanan, when you sell 2 trees, you don't get land. Now you're selling the land and you're keeping 2 trees. Yesh le karka. You have land. It's not consistent. By selling, the purchaser doesn't get the land. By retaining it for yourself, you do get the land. And okay, now vafilo the Rabbi Akiva Damar, and even according to Rabbi Akiva Damar, Meichem Bayin Yafa Meicher, the Gemara thinks this is the chiddush of Rav Huna, that Rabbi Akiva holds when someone sells, he sells generously. You see, according to the Rabbanan, it's not much of a chiddush that he doesn't sell the land. He's selling land and he's keeping the trees, right? Selling land and keeping the trees. So when you sell something, you don't sell generously, right? According to the Rabbanan, you sell stingy. So therefore, when he's keeping the trees, he's keeping the land also, and probably the path to the land, the path to the trees, right? That's what Rabbanan hold. When you sell stingy. So you don't have to purchase a path. So okay. So, but the chiddush over here is according to Rabbi Akiva. When you sell, you usually are generous. So you should have sold the path and the land as well. But Rav Huna's the chiddush of Rav Huna. The Gemara is thinking the chiddush of Rav Huna is that even according to Rabbi Akiva that says that would only be by things that do not weaken the land. For example, a pit or other type of pit, a cistern, square, round pits, because the person doesn't mind that you have a pit in this property. You're keeping that pit, and so okay, pit's there, doesn't mind. When it comes to trees, that the trees weaken the land. The fact that you kept your trees in the land mean that the other person can't plant over there because the trees weaken, take the nutrients from the soil, so he can't plant over there. So Rav Huna is telling us that even though if you would be selling the land and keeping the pit, so if the pit would collapse or the path to the pit, according to Rabbi Akiva, you're selling the land, you're going to need to purchase a path to the pit. But if it's a tree, you're not going to need to purchase the path to the tree. And the reason is because since the trees weaken the land, if you don't keep the land, then the guy's going to end up telling you, get rid of your trees, get your trees out of here. At least when the trees die. He's going to say, get rid of your trees. I don't want your trees here. When it comes to the pit, he didn't have that concern because the pit doesn't weaken the land. But because the purchaser of the land always wants you to get out of there, so at any opportunity is going to get rid of you. The fact that you're keeping the trees, we're assuming that you want to keep those trees forever. The fact that you're keeping, that's our assumption. Not you're just keeping it temporary till the trees die. You're keeping those trees forever. And therefore, unless you keep the land, you're going to lose those trees entirely because when the trees die, he's going to tell you to get rid of your trees. So it must be that you're keeping the land. This is our assumption. We're assuming that the seller had the intention to keep the land that's under the trees, to be able to replant them if they die. Otherwise, the guy's going to kick you out. You never want to be in a situation where they're going to kick you out, at least the seller. The seller doesn't want to, is not putting himself in a situation where he's going to kick you out. Now, how come this doesn't work the other way? How come this doesn't work when you're selling trees, that the person is getting the trees forever and that he should get the land also because he doesn't want to get kicked out? The reason is because when someone buys trees, could be he's just buying the fruits temporarily for as long as it lasts. But when a person is not buying trees, he's keeping the trees. When he's keeping the trees, we think he wants to have it forever. When he's buying trees, we think that maybe this is just a temporary, it's the Rashbam's job. Yeah, so that's over here. There's going to be an interesting difference between the buying the trees or selling the trees when not buying the trees or selling, when you're keeping the trees to yourself or purchasing trees. That over here you're going to have the land as well. Big chiddush. That when you're keeping the trees, you're going to have the land according to the Rabbanan, and even according to Rabbi Akiva, you're going to have it, even though you sold the property and really you should be selling generously. But no, over here, according to Rabbi Akiva, you're not selling generously because you want to have those trees forever. Even when they die, you should be able to take. The Gemara is going to have a difficulty with this based on the teaching of Reb Shimon. Tanan, it was taught in the Mishnah, Reb Shimon Aimer. Reb Shimon says, "Hamakdish es asada lehikdish el hacharuv v'sada nashikma." If someone consecrates a field, he consecrates only the field, not the other things that are in the field that wouldn't have been sold, with the exception of the trees. The Tani Allah, and there's a brisa that explains more in more detail. Why does Reb Shimon hold that there's an exception by the trees? It says, Amar Reb Shimon, Matam, what's the reason why the trees are different? Since the trees are getting nourishment from the field, and you were just makdish, the field, you consecrated the field. So anything that grows from hektish is considered hektish. Gedulei hektish are considered hektish. It's grow. I'm sorry? It's going to end up, yeah. That's what it sounds like, but that's not exactly gedulei. That's I have this discussion with if you use Meiser money to buy a raffle ticket or something. But when it wins, who gets that money? Does it go to Meiser or does it go to? Do you keep it and you just the ticket costs $2.50 or something? I'll give $2.50 to Meiser. So over here, the trees are growing from hektish. So Reb Shimon holds that the trees have to be hektish as well, because what grows from hektish is considered hektish. Listen to the Gemara's logic. It's beautiful. But if when you consecrate a property, but you retain the trees for yourself, whose property are the trees growing from? We said Rav Huna holds that it's growing from your property because you want the trees forever. So why do we have to say that the trees are hektish because they're growing from hektish property? According to Rav Huna, they're not growing from hektish property. If you're keeping those trees, like you're keeping everything else, then it comes with the land. You're keeping the land as well.
So it's drawing a California.
No, so we're saying that we're proving that Rav Huna is not accurate. Rav Huna was saying that if you retain the trees for yourself, then you're also keeping the property of it. But Reb Shimon says that when you're consecrating property, even though everything else in the property doesn't get consecrated, and the trees really are not consecrated. The only reason why they are is because the land under the trees are consecrated, so that makes the trees consecrated. But it's not true, according to Rav Huna. The land isn't consecrated.
The yankin can be the whole area of the field.
Yeah, well, it would be, it would be the area. The Gemara says that even though the roots travel more than a certain area, but the nourishment of the tree is only a certain area. So even though the roots can go further, but the main nourishment under the canopy or something.
That's why if you want to water it,
right?
Do it on the.
So kiki yanki midanav sheki yanki. It's from itself. It's a kasha on Rav Huna. The Gemara answers this, that we have to reject the chiddush that we thought beforehand. We thought the chiddush of this is that you're keeping the property is because the chiddush would be even according to Rav Huna that says normally when you sell something, you sell generously, and therefore the property should have been sold, even the property under the tree should have been sold. Kabbalah Rav Huna is telling me a chiddush that even according to Rabbi Akiva, the property under the trees is not sold. You get to keep that property. The Gemara now says no. Reb Shimon Damak Rabbi Akiva. Reb Shimon is following Rabbi Akiva, where according to Rabbi Akiva, when you sell or when you give, you are generous. So you are giving the property, the land that's underneath the trees. So what was Rav Huna talking? Rav Huna's Amar Rabbanan. Rav Huna was only in the Rabbanan. According to the Rabbanan, when you sell something, you're selling stingy anyway. So you're not really giving the property of the trees either, even because you're keeping the trees. So you're not giving the property with the trees, you're keeping the path and the property underneath. So you could replant it. That's what Rav Huna is saying. When it says Kirabanan, Shita. So then Rav Huna lost his whole chiddush. You don't sell anything. You only sell the bare minimum according to the Rabbanan. So when you're only selling the property, you're not selling the trees, then you're keeping the path to the trees. You're keeping the trees with their property to replant it. Umar says, well, no. Nafkamina, without Rav Huna, the nafli hadashasli. I would have only thought that while the trees are alive, you retain for yourself a path. But when the trees die, then those trees aren't yours anymore. Then it's finished. That's what I would have thought. Comes along Rav Huna and says, no, even if the trees die, you can still replant the trees. So I would have thought that while you're keeping the trees, but it doesn't mean you're keeping the rights to be able to replant them. You're only keeping the trees while they're there. And what does it mean when you keep the trees? It means you keep the path to the trees also. And maybe it means that you can have the area to work as well. I'm not sure, no, because it was only, maybe it means you have the area to work as well. But once the trees die, then you lose it. That's what I would have thought. Comes along Rav Huna and says, no, you can replant it as well. So it's a chiddush even according to the Rabbana.
From a hurricane.
It would be the same thing. Because
One is the same tree.
no, they're both planted. Either they die and you can replant it, or they get uprooted and you can replant it. So that's what it means. It means that you're retaining the trees according to Rav Huna, is that you're having something permanent there. That's the idea. Rav Huna is telling me that you want something permanent. Okay, let's leave it right here. Exactly at the end of the page.
So you can sell your land